Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Xony, and today we're going to have some more stories from Reddit. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to my channel, like the video if you enjoy it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now, without further ado, let's go. Now let's get into today's stories to find out what happened. My wife, 46 female, seemed perfectly content in our relationship. She never told me, 49 male, that there was anything bothering her. As a matter of fact, she had it made. Even though she worked and made her own money, she was married to me and my family was extremely wealthy and kind. A few times, I grew weary of her, thinking she might not be as mature or smart as me. She would joke about finding other men attractive. When we watched a show with a woman that had an affair going, she justified it by saying her husband wasn't giving her the attention she deserved. Since I gave my wife lots of attention, and my parents taught me that marriage should last forever, I never let myself believe anything was wrong. I did ask my brother once if he thought I should distance myself from her or test her in some way. He told me absolutely not, because it would be dishonest of me to investigate my wife without confronting her and telling her how I felt. He knew how hard it was for me to be honest about my feelings, especially when I felt like it could cause an argument or problem when there might not actually be a problem in the first place. I realize now that he only told me not to do anything because he was closer to my wife than I ever knew. It all came to light one day when my wife told me she was headed to work, but she forgot her laptop. She absolutely needed her laptop in order to do any of the interviews she was supposed to conduct. I waited for her to return for it or call me, feeling that this was the test I needed to happen. She didn't come back for it. She didn't call me. As a matter of fact, I tried calling her, but it would only ring and go to voicemail. That was unlike her as well. Her phone was usually in her hand in case her boss needed to get a hold of her. I knew basically right away that she wasn't at work. I decided to open the laptop to see if I could find anything. The pin was her birthday. It was signed into a Facebook profile I never saw before. There was one unread message. I clicked on it and it was from my brother. It said, "See you soon." I read previous messages that proved my wife and brother were having an emotional affair. They said, "I love you," and my wife said he was the one she should have married. Heartbroken, furious, and betrayed, I drove to my parents' house where my brother still lived in the lower-level basement. My wife's car was parked there, confirming what I just read. My parents were not home. I snuck along the side of the house to the entry door to the basement. I had no idea if it was unlocked or how I could get in without them seeing or hearing me. After a few seconds of deliberation, I decided to start filming on my phone and just slowly open the door. It didn't make a sound, and I was able to see clearly my naked brother on top of my wife. They had no idea the door was open or that I was filming them. You can only speculate as to how broken I was at this moment. I stumbled away, leaving the door open. I had my proof, but I didn't feel like I could keep myself together. Nothing mattered to me. Now that my wife of 14 years was cheating on me with my own brother, he had absolutely no consideration or respect for me. I felt pure rage replace the devastation, and I vowed revenge. I decided my brother didn't deserve any bit of our parents' inheritance or support. How dare he lie with them for free and take his brother's wife? It's like he had no intention of living a life of his own. Well, his mooching days were over. The first thing I did quietly was file for divorce with the video evidence of my wife cheating. Before I could do anything else, my wife returned home and I couldn't contain myself. I started yelling at her for the first time in our marriage. I showed her the video, shaking, furious that she had the nerve to deny she was cheating. After watching the video, she took on this attitude like it didn't matter anyway, because I couldn't stop her if she wanted to marry my brother. Instead, she added that my parents would support them because they loved her and him just as much as me. I just laughed and said she was right. She could marry my brother while they both lived on the streets, because they wouldn't have anything when I was through with them. She was completely stupid with an ego blown up to the sky. So she packed her stuff and drove back to my parents' house. Imagine her surprise when she arrived to find my brother standing outside the house with his stuff strewn all over the grass and mud. I already sent my parents the video. They kicked him out immediately and told me I would be the only one to receive inheritance because they were both dead to them now. They were so set in the belief that marriage lasts forever. But even more important to them was the unbreakable bond between family. The respect and support you offer to your family no matter what. My brother disappointed them beyond words, possibly even more than the betrayal I felt from him. He was their baby, and he hurt their other baby, me. So as soon as my wife saw that he was cut off with his stuff thrown everywhere, she didn't try to help him or stay. She just drove away, back to my house, where I changed the locks and knew I wouldn't have to let her back in. She banged on the door, begging and sobbing for me to take her back. She called herself every name in the book in an attempt to get me to open the door. Thankfully, her tricks didn't work on me. My instincts were right. She was a terrible wife. She and my brother separately were forced to start searching for jobs and a place to live. In a few months, my wife's car that she was repossessed because I stopped making the payments on it. Last I heard, she moved in with a friend and is trying to get back on her feet. I don't know what happened to my own brother, but he never tried to apologize to me. Now let's get into today's second story. My wife, 25, female, and I, 27, male, married young, with my foolish belief that I would only have longer to love her. After just 3 years into our marriage, I knew she wasn't ready for a permanent commitment, contrary to what she said over and over again, which was that she wanted to be with me forever. She'd started messaging strangers with her phone, searching for local events and things that she could go to with or without me. She started living her life side by side with me, but not with me. I wasn't in the metaphorical car. So for that reason, our relationship became distant and more like roommates. We both knew it was happening, but neither of us wanted to talk about it. I knew she did care enough to hear how I felt, but she still told me she loved me and never made it clear that she was looking for another man. She always just said she was going out for air with some friends or to see her family. She was very close to her parents and sisters who had children and husbands of their own. My wife also became friends with the people in our neighborhood. You might say she was closer to some of them than even me. One day she told me she was going out again, but it was a little earlier than usual. It was like 3:00 p.m. She didn't have a job, but I worked enough to support us completely. I didn't really consider it as unfair because I enjoyed my work and wanted to provide, for my wife asked if I could go with her. But she said it was her friend's birthday outing, so I wasn't really invited. I doubted this completely, but it reminded me that her birthday was in a few days. After she left, I opened up the living room curtains and sat on the couch with my laptop to look up birthday ideas for her. That's when I noticed a woman that looked just like my wife entering the neighbor's house. I was so confused, I considered ignoring it, but saner thoughts prevailed. I walked across the street nervously, noticing only the screen door was closed. I hid beside it and only peeked my face around to see what I could see, which was nothing. Just an empty living room and silence. I slowly opened the screen door and tipped down the hallway in this neighbor's house. I didn't know the guy. I only saw him a few times, but I knew he was a bachelor about our age. I started to hear moaning coming from the room at the end of the hall. The door was open, so I just stopped and listened. When the moaning grew more intense, my broken heart raced. I knew I had to do something, so I just stuck my phone out and took blind video of the room. I was completely shocked that you could clearly see the neighbor having intimate with my wife. It felt like I floated out of his house and back to mine without much thought. I locked up the house tight. But then I realized my wife had a key and our lives were completely entwined. I couldn't just cut her off without the legalities to back me up. Since her birthday was in a few days and she was extremely close to her family, I planned to put on a show they wouldn't forget. My wife shouldn't be able to continue receiving help and support from people around her after betraying the one person she made vows to. So I made a big deal about her birthday. I sent invites to her family and friends to meet at her favorite restaurant for a party. I had a portable projector that I set up, pretending it would be a video of our most precious moments. With about 40 people besides my wife attendance, she was on her high course. She couldn't believe what lengths I went to for her birthday. I studied her for any trace of guilt and found none. The video started off with pictures from our wedding, but quickly cut to her getting effed by the neighbor. Everyone gasped and turned their gaze to my wife, who was speechless and terrified. What could she say? It was there for all to see. She started sobbing in an instant, and some people started getting up to leave. She ran to the bathroom crying, so all the guests, her closest friends, and family left on the way out. A few of them, including her parents, told me they were very sorry she did this, and they could not be helping her out if I chose to divorce. It was exactly what I wanted to hear. I felt 1,000 times better now that everyone saw it and knew the pain she caused me. I felt like I could get through anything, including a divorce. She was just an immature girl that wasn't ready to be married, especially not to me, who understood the true value and meaning of marital vows. When she came out of the bathroom, I was the only one there. I handed her divorce papers and told her if I wasn't a stronger man, she would have broken me. She tried begging me at this point, but it was pointless, and the last time I would ever hear her whining. After this whole thing, no one wanted to see her. I know because she tried commenting on her friend's post, asking why they were ignoring her DM. She posted status updates, asking anyone and everyone for help until she could get back on her feet. Her friends list started to shrink. One of the comments her friends posted suggested she tried to get a job. She was infuriated and made excuses as to why she couldn't get one. Another friend told her, "This is what happens when you betray the man that takes care of you." That was my favorite comment. Shortly after, I posted a selfie at the gym with my new girlfriend. She blocked me. I didn't notice until months later when I tried to get an update on her.